the Entrepreneur's Guide to Attracting Quality Women. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or you generally value freedom and you also pay attention to and are very intentional about who you let into your life and you want to associate with the coolest, hottest, kindest, nicest, most beautiful inside and out women, this is the guy for you. Now, before we get into it, if you're serious about your dating life and developing and creating a dating life that you are really proud of, I suggest you have to join the community. Okay, the link is in the description below. And we provide daily accountability, 24/7 support, okay, making sure that you actually take action towards your goals. Expert guidance, because I'm there all the time giving you my 2 cents daily. And my course bundle, which is a direct download from my head, everything that I've learned from 15 years teaching dating, from what attraction is and how it works, how to create it, all the way to how to run your date or whatever kind of question you might come up with, it is already answered in this course. So grab the link down below, and with that out of the way, let's get started. So here's what we're talking about today. Number one, the pitfalls of being your own boss. Because as a business owner, when it comes to dating, there are some things that I would caution you on and that I've encountered in my own, journey. So this is my experience speaking. Now, and besides that, or like after that, I guess I will lay out the path of like how this works, how the whole vision, rolls out. And there's 4 main steps that I would, separate the whole like journey in. And they are as follows. Step number 1, figuring out your own potential anxiety, because like we're not gonna assume that you have anxiety right off the bat, but like if you have any, figuring out how to mitigate it, how to take care of it, and how to create organic approaches, how to get the ball rolling. In other words, step number 2, skill set and mindset, like inner game, outer game. It's like how to create the bulk of the the work and how to mold yourself into the guy that is successful in connecting with women and communicating. Number 3, dates, gathering experience, and creating your first relationship. So like this is the time for the first real wins. And number 4, how to set up funnels, how to have the whole thing snowball and like magnify so as to exert as little effort as possible and maximize the result. Okay, now before we get into this, before I start blabbing, here's why you should listen to me. Number 1, I am an entrepreneur, and I have been for quite a while, teaching dating for over a decade, like I said. And I've also had and ran a different business as well, a sales business that was also a lot of fun. I loved it. I love sales as well. And so, I have both experience in running your own business and dating as it happens. And the latter, the dating part, this is a bunch of pictures of me with different really amazing girls that I met in different countries. This is in Poland, right? This is in Vienna, Austria, and this is in Berlin. So different types of adventures, different types of relationships, and all kinds of awesome people. So with that said, let's start with the meat and potatoes of this video. So here's the pitfalls of being your own boss. Okay, number 1, and you know this, you don't need me to tell you this, but emotions influence business. If you're emotionally not in a good place, your business is gonna reflect that. And you might already have the skill, but it is so important to cultivate the skill of compartmentalizing, of like separating emotions and business. And the thing is, because like you're in control of your own time, and because women tend to want to infringe upon time, it is so essential that you understand and start cultivating boundaries. And boundaries are the expectations that you have of yourself and of other people. So in fact, sometimes your boundaries in business might be amazing, but your boundaries with women might be terrible. And you're like the same guy, but have like different sorts of boundaries for different like situations in your life. And it is essential to like put all boundaries under one umbrella and start cultivating that like true separation, that like those strict rules. What do you expect from others and what do you expect from yourself? And start enforcing them. And the magic here is this. Once you do this, once you start enforcing these rules, this is one of the things that makes you appear and come across as so attractive, because this is a big masculine trait. In fact, there are 6 attraction triggers. I talk about them a lot in the course and the other material, my other content. Boundaries is one of them, and it's one of the biggest ones. Like a man with boundaries is an attractive man, and this is how you command and elicit respect from women. If you have trouble being respected by women, it is because it is a boundary issue. And once you fix boundaries, you automatically get respect. So that is huge, okay? And once that happens, you will see that your business is gonna be unaffected by what's happening in your love life. So that's great, and that's one of the most important things you need to take care of. Number 2, in business, we have the usual dilemma, that's the push or pivot dilemma. So sometimes you'll ask yourself, if you find a wall, a stone wall, if you hit like a plateau, or if you hit a barrier, am I gonna push through it? Am I gonna brute force it, right? Or am I going to change something? In dating, once you hit a plateau with a girl, because like there's always a structure and there's always a understanding of like where you are right now and what to do to get to the next level, next step. You will see that sometimes you are being blocked from doing that. And the way to think about this here is not push or pivot. And it's definitely not brute force. Like brute forcing girls into anything is such a terrible idea. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. But instead, what you want to do is the 50-50 approach. So 50% of the time, you want to push. You want to be a little more dominant. You want to put the girl in the qualification role. You want to be the one that's asking the questions, or be the one that's sharing about yourself. But the other 50%, if you do that, and you need to get a feel for the right timing, if you do that, you will see that the girl's turned off. The interaction is moving backwards instead of forwards, okay? And instead, what you need to do is lean back. Take a step back, let some slack, take a breath. And so instead of push or pivot, you need to start developing a feel for when to engage and when to disengage. That is the magic here. That's such a magic move, and like understanding this and knowing this will save you and shave off years from your learning curve in dating. And number 3, sales versus dating. As a business owner, I'm sure you have some experience in sales and hopefully and maybe some affinity, right? And some things in sales are the same, but some things are different. And similarities that sales has to dating could be how it's a volume and a numbers game. So the more leads you hit up, the more the success is going to start compounding. Or you want to qualify the lead, you want to qualify the woman. And for instance, qualifying the woman is also good because, in sales is good because you're saving both yourself and the prospect some time. If, you respect everybody's time. But in dating, it's also good, besides saving time and, respecting time, it's also good because most guys will not, they will take whatever they can get. And once you start asking a woman questions about who she is and if she's the right fit for you, you see that a lot of women get signaled that you're somebody that's not necessarily gonna hang out with just everybody. And that makes you a lot more attractive. Anyway, the big difference between sales and dating is this. A modality of communication when we're speaking with girls is dominance, because dominance is another attraction trigger, and it's the thing that makes, there's 6 attraction triggers by the way, right? And it's the thing that makes women sexually aroused. If you're dominant with them, and by the way, don't mistake dominance from like being a caveman. There's like very specific things that make you a dominant man. Once you do it right, you'll see that girls get wet, and there's no control. They have no control over it. It's like a natural response to it. Okay. This dominance is never something that you do in sales. So it's a language that if you haven't spoken yet, you must learn how to speak. So these are the big pitfalls in being your own boss and translating that to dating, or like combining dating with being your own boss, have your own business. Now, let's move on to step number 1 and start laying out the vision of how this whole thing works. Like, what does your journey look like as an entrepreneur, starting from zero basically, all the way to meeting infinite, amazing, high quality girls. Number 1 is about taking action. Okay, it's about going from 0 to 1. It's about bringing a stationary object in motion. So there's a lot of inertia needed for that. And that's the barrier to entry in dating, brother. It is you needing to do the work. And any dating coach that tells you that, work with me for like a week and I'll get you your dream girl is bullshitting you from top to bottom. So there is definitely an element, especially if you've never, or if you hardly have success with amazing women, there's an element of, starting to get that machinery running. And step number 1 is a lot about your own emotions. So taking care of potential, let me add there, anxiety, and familiarizing yourself with the process. So figuring out how it is to express yourself to new people, especially when there is social pressure added and all that stuff. So it's a lot about, like bringing your emotional and nervous system response down and starting to gain command of even your physiology. Okay, this is so important. And on top of that is putting the numbers in, because if you think about it, if you are to spar with a woman in that way, verbally and socially, you need to get to her level. And if she's a black belt because she's 25 and ever since she was 16 she's been hot and everybody's talking to her, like there's 2 dudes talking to her every day since like for the last 8 years, that's not something that you've done. And you must break that illusion of thinking that you're gonna go in and knockout punch, figuratively, right? You must put the numbers in, put the effort in, so that you start catching up to this social savvy, to this social intelligence, where now you can catch things as fast as the girl's catching them, and you can communicate with each other on that level. Okay, and you see that like towards the end of step number 1, your approaches, instead of like deliberate, start becoming a little more organic, like the magic moment where the girl drops her credit card at the counter and like you pick it up and your eyes meet on the way. Like that starts actually happening, whereas before, in the beginning, you will see that these moments are few and far between, okay? Now, with that out of the way, with that step 1 out of the way, let's move into step 2. Step 2 is a lot about mindset and skill set. So it's about your inner game and your outer game, because dating is both. You must be an attractive man, and this is all about how you think, how you see things, and you must actually make shit happen, because girls are not leaders and are not supposed to be the leaders in this game. Every time a girl has to lead in a relationship, she and both her and her dude are miserable as fuck. Okay, so it's also a skill set, is my point. And so mindset is number 1, belief systems and ego. Okay, it's about starting to understand. Now in step number 2, you're starting to understand how things really work, because you're gathering real world experience and you're starting to question how you thought things worked before. And the ego part, which I'm a huge nerd on, and this veers off a tiny bit into psychoanalysis as well, is about the emotional response that you get. It's about the filters through which you see the world. So you need to identify and shatter limiting beliefs And you need to, and you are absolutely going to, understand your capabilities. Because a lot of times, especially I've seen it with clients of mine and with myself, it's like one night I do something that I didn't think possible. I didn't think I was strong enough or courageous enough to create that kind of interaction, or to steal a girl from another man, or, and again, not just with me, I see it in my clients as well. And number two, and that's another big thing about mindset, is understanding of psychology. And I mean of female psychology, because girls are not like boys. We don't think the same. And you must respect how girls think as well, because if they're not gonna speak your language, man, maybe you should start speaking theirs. Like, one party has to start speaking the other party's language at some point, okay? And either you're gonna wait for them to do it, or you're gonna take initiative and do it yourself. So understanding of female psychology is so important. And we do this by, don't take anybody's word for it, just do it by experimenting and validating, figuring out what works, what doesn't, and that's only by application in the real world. Now, skill set, the other half of step number two, it's doing what has worked for others before. And it's all about the reps, like how to structure your interaction, how to structure your date, how to understand how to text a girl. And like, you'll text a girl something, you'll be ghosted. Maybe you'll do the same thing or a similar thing a couple more times, you'll be ghosted. Okay, good. This is evidence that this doesn't work. So what does work? It's all about experimentation, okay? Of course, with the right guidance, you get skill sets that work, that have worked for others in the past, and you see that when you apply those in the real world, yeah, this is what will carry you through, basically, okay? So, step number three is time to actually put the work in. Now, we've learned everything. Now we've set things in motion in step number one. We've learned everything in step number two. Now it's time for the Rocky cutscene. It's time for the trainings. It's like time to start gathering experience. This is the part where I was alluding to before, that you need to put in the work in. There is no way around this. The experience is only yours to take. If I could download experience from my brain into yours, I would. I'm doing the best I can with the media that we have, like the fucking courses and me chatting with you and fucking calls and like coaching, but no matter how you slice it, you need to get in the trenches and actually do it. The benefit is that here you're starting to gather the real wins. So the wins that you gathered until now is just like cool lessons, confirmation that something works or that something doesn't work, and you take what you can get because the wins are still wins. But here, step number three, this is where the real wins come in, okay? This is where you start going on real dates that are successful. This is where you start having your first relationships with girls, which they could be like short relationships, or they could be even friendships, or they could be long relationships, okay? And because of that, you're starting to identify and gather your tribe. So slowly you're starting to, find the people that you resonate with and find the first girls that you could see yourself being in a relationship with. Now, let me caution you here. This is so important. A lot of guys stop with this step. This is not the time to stop, because, and by the way, a lot of guys go into long-term relationships here, and some guys go into casual dating, but a lot of guys just stop here. And this basically means that you're happy here and you can stop here, and by all means, okay, fair enough, you can stop. But, because I said I want to caution you, I don't really want to caution you. If you want to stop here, this is fair enough. But if you don't, you get to go to step 4, which is the snowball effect. Because if you are starting to win and you stop the game right when the wins start happening, great, you won. But the magic thing, or the magical thing about the wins, is that it's the opposite of what was happening in step number 1. So in step number 1, you had to bring the object into motion and put in infinite power and inertia to achieve this escape velocity. But step 4 is you being in orbit, Step 4 doesn't need that much power and effort and like just pushing anymore. Step 4 is super low effort and everything gets magnified. So this is about your own psychology and what's happened to it. Besides the external evidence that, somebody would see, like, okay, this guy's got a lot of girls, around him in his life. What's happening is that in your own head, the evidence is very real that girls like you. And because of that influences everything you do. From the way you walk, to your eye contact, to the way you address people, to the way you carry yourself. And because of that, more and more and more people, and of course, high quality women are going to start liking you a lot easier. So instead of putting infinite effort to get girls, now it's just like super effortless. And it's like this verse in the Bible, I think. I'm not super familiar with it, but it says, from the one that has nothing, everything will be taken. And to the one that has so much, everything will be given. Something along those lines, right? So, and like practically, so yeah, this is what happens because of the compounding effect. And practically how that happens is, now it's time to set up your funnels, which is different ways of bringing you in contact and bringing high quality women into your life, like dating apps, social media, events, venues, social circle, other people who you network with. And of course, this is all very systematized, and there's ways to approach this with solid strategy. But even if you don't, you're already, like, the snowball is already rolling. And from there, my suggestion is to play the field enough to gather enough experience with amazing girls to truly see who you resonate with, who you want to be with. And if you want a monogamous, long-term, committed relationship, you'll choose the best girl out of them. And because of that, because you've chosen the best one, and she's obviously chosen you as well, she's chosen you back, the relationship is going to be super successful. Or you can just, casually date amazing women for as long as you want. Okay, so this is the whole journey. Again, if you're serious about your dating life, join the community. The link is in the description. And I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Okay, see ya.